Hey there, I'm Emma. I am so excited that you want to start training with kettlebells. They are the best tool. They get you in great shape and burn tons of calories. Today I'm going to show you 4 really important kettlebell exercises for mastering the kettlebells as a beginner. First, we're actually going to learn how to do the hip hinge, which doesn't involve any weight, but teaches you how to do the hip hinge X movement, which is the foundation of the deadlift, the swing, the bent over row, and the clean. Then we're going to go on to learning how to do the kettlebell deadlift, the bent over row, and the overhead press. As we go, I'm going to explain why these are all the most important exercises for setting you up for a lifetime of kettlebell success.
Before you ever touch a kettlebell, you'll need to learn how to hip hinge. To do this, start by bracing your core. Take a big exhale and send your lower ribs towards your hip bones and your tailbone towards the floor. Now you have a long, flat back and your core is tight. And send the hips towards the back of the room. To do this, you'll bend the knees a little bit and then imagine that I'm pulling your hips back towards the plant behind me. If that doesn't quite feel right or you're having a hard time with it, back up to a wall and start doing this hinging exercise. Make your hips contact the wall and then take a baby step forward, each time seeing if you can contact the wall while maintaining a long, flat back. Once you find that sweet spot where you can contact the wall, making sure you're bending the knees enough to send the hips back, practice hinging here. Whether you're hinging in the air or up against the wall, you'll want to practice 10 to 15 times to get the hang of it. Next, you can pick up a kettlebell for the kettlebell deadlift. This is the same hip hinge, but now you're going to start with the kettlebell in between your ankle bones. Again, brace the core and do a nice hip hinge to send those hips back and get your hands on the kettlebell. Corkscrew your arms into the shoulder sockets and then use your hips to pull through and stand up tall. Each time you're loading the back side of the body, so you'll want to feel a pull in the glutes and hamstrings or the backs of the thighs before you start to stand up. And then squeeze the glutes and the thighs at the top of the exercise to help make sure that you're standing up tall and not just thrusting the hips forward. Here you can see what this exercise looks like from the front. I'm standing up tall and my feet are about as wide as my hips, if not a little wider. But you can take whatever stance works best for you. Next, we're going to do the bent over row. That's a hip hinge, but instead of working the legs, we're working the arms. So you'll start by locking your arm bone into your shoulder socket and then bending at the elbow to pull a weight towards your chest. But sometimes doing it freestanding causes a little bit of back pain. So you're going to want to grab something that's somewhere around knee or thigh height. You'll do your hip hinge and lean on that surface. And now you're supported, your core is engaged, and you can pull that weight towards your body. This is also a great way of doing a slightly heavier lift. You don't want to rotate the shoulders and the torso. You want to keep everything locked in place and pull that arm towards the waist, not moving the shoulder very much. Finally, we're going to do an overhead press. So you're going to clean that weight up, pick it up however you need to, and then have a nice straight wrist and have the kettlebell resting between your bicep and forearm. From here, you're going to make a slight J shape as you send the kettlebell up and over you. At the top of the exercise, you want the kettlebell to be facing the back of the room and you want your core engaged. Don't let that lower back arch like I'm doing here or let the ribs flare. Keep the core engaged and press the weight straight up overhead. Also make sure that your shoulder is away from your ear. You're not trying to deafen yourself at the top of this press.
You did great today. Thank you so much for joining me for this kettlebell beginner workout guide. If you want more, make sure to check out my website for a full 1-month kettlebell beginner program. We cover these exercises and more and set you up for a lifetime of kettlebell success.